Hello, everyone. This is Ms. Reininger, and today in art, we are going to talk about space. Now, we're not talking about space in reference to the moon and stars and universe. We're actually talking about space as it relates to art. So, when you think of drawings and paintings and photographs and sculptures, think about the space inside and outside of the main subject. So I'm going to show you a picture so that you can visualize what I mean. So I'm going to present my screen. So please just be patient for a second. Okay, so on your screen, you should see two images. The first one, you should see a yellow kind of cup or candlestick or vase. In the second one, you see a black and white image. And if you look closely, you can see something else, and we'll talk about that in a second. So let's talk about space. So inside of this vase, the space inside of it, so the area that it takes up, that's called positive space. And the reason that this is the positive space is because the vase is the main subject of this work of art. So the space within this yellow vase is the positive space. Outside of that, this white space in the background, that is called negative space. So the space within the main subject of a work of art is positive space. The space in the background is the negative space. Now, let's look at the negative space. You can see it here, but you can see it even better here in black. If you look closely at the negative space, it makes something else. And I wonder if you can see it. So I'm going to give you a second here to try to see what you see in that black negative space. Okay, did you see two faces? They're two faces facing each other. So I want to point it out here just in case you had trouble seeing it. So here's a face right here and the face right here. They're facing each other. And here is a forehead of one of these people. Here's an eyebrow, a nose, mouth, and chin. And over here, there's the same face just facing the opposite way. And so we see a forehead, eyebrow, nose, mouth, and chin. And then in the white space, you see this vase here, okay? So artists have to be vigilant, or they have to understand positive and negative space when they create their artworks, okay? Because you can create things with the background just like the foreground. All right, now I'd like to show you what we are going to create today. So we are going to use positive and negative space, and we are going to make an animal face, okay? Now, what I would like you to do is think of an animal that you would like to create for your positive and negative space project. Now, it needs to be a face that has symmetrical balance, which means it's the same on both sides. So if you notice on my cat, cats have half a head on each side, an ear on each side, an eye on each side, half a nose and half a mouth. So like a dog, a cat, a bear, a monkey. Think about an animal that you would like to do that has symmetrical balance on their face, okay? Now, we want to gather our materials next, and here's what you're going to need for your project. You are going to need 2 pieces of paper. They need to be different colors. So I have a colorful construction paper right here. I have a painted piece of paper right here. If you only have white paper at home, which I bet a lot of you do, with one of those sheets at least, add color to it. So either color it with a crayon or a marker. If you have permission from your parents and you have paint, you can paint it. That's what I actually did on this one. I just did paint. So you need 2 different colors, because if you do it with 2 pieces of white paper, you're not going to be able to see the image, okay? You're also going to need scissors, a pencil, and glue. So it could be a glue stick or a bottle of glue like this, okay? Now I'm going to angle my camera so you can see. Now I'm going to put this green paper that I painted in the background. Now for this one that's going to be laid on top, I need to cut it in half because I only need half of this paper. So what I'm going to do to get a nice even half of paper, I'm going to fold it first. So to get a nice even fold, what I do is I match up the corners very carefully. So I really take my time when I'm matching those corners. Then once the corners are matched, I hold it in place and then I smooth it out. And that's how I get even folds. Okay, so you can see I have a nice even fold here. Okay, now I'm going to open it up and you can see the fold right here. So I can cut right on that fold. Now, if you have trouble seeing the fold, you could just go like this and carefully trace the fold so you can see it better when you're cutting. Okay, now it's easier for me to cut. I'm just going to carefully cut it in half. It's okay if it's not absolutely perfect. Just try your best. Okay, now one of these halves I don't need at all. So you can either save it for a different project or recycle it. That's up to you. So I'm going to set this aside. Okay. Now with this piece right here, I'm going to draw half of an animal face. I'm not doing anything with this piece of paper yet. Okay. So think about what animal you'd like to do and think about what shapes you could draw to make up their face. Okay, so I'm going to do another cat. And I would say the cat I want to do is going to have an oval face. So I'm going to draw half of an oval. If you have an animal that has a round face, you could do like half of a circle. Okay, so think about that shape and draw half. Okay, and I'm going to draw along one of these long sides. So for my cat, and it's going to be hard to see with pencil, but I will go back and trace it with marker for you. I'm going to start by drawing a half of an oval. So you can see if you look closely, you can sort of see that half of an oval. And I will go back and trace that darker. And then I'm going to think about the shape that I'm going to do for the ear. So cats have pointy ears, so I'm going to draw a triangle. So if you have something like a bear, you could do like a half circle to make it round. If you're doing a dog, it might be a pointy ear or it might be like a floppy ear, so you could draw a shape like that. So think about that shape. So for me, I'm going to draw a triangle. I'm going to draw it nice and big, so draw big. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to cut out if it's itty bitty. And then I'm going to erase this line going through the ear very carefully. So make sure you erase that. Okay, now I'm going to trace it with the marker so you can see it better. You don't have to trace yours with a marker. I just want you to be able to see it on the screen. So you can see my half cat face. So here is the outside and here is the ear. Okay, now I want to draw my eye. So to do my eye, and I'm going to have it upside down so you can see it better, I'm going to do an oval shape. So think about what kind of eye shape your animal has. Maybe it has an oval, maybe it has a circle. So think about that shape. And I'm going to put it right about here and I'm going to make it big. So make sure you draw the details big. Otherwise, it's going to be hard to cut later. So there's kind of the oval. You can see I made it really, really big. And then to make it look like it's looking at me, I'm going to do what kind of looks like an oval with a point. Now, if your animal has like a round pupil, that's the black dot in their eye, you could do a circle. Now make sure it's connected to the top of the eye, okay? So I'm going to draw it and then I'm going to trace it and you'll be able to see what I mean. I'm going to erase this line that's going through. Okay, now I'm going to trace it and then you'll be able to see a little bit better. So this is the eye, and then this is the part where it's looking at you. Does that make sense? And I erased this part that went through because I don't want to cut that off when I cut this out, okay? Next, I'm going to do the nose. So some animals have round noses or ovals. Mine has a triangle, so I'm going to draw a half triangle right here on the edge, and I'm going to do it kind of big so it's easier to cut. So a half triangle. And then I'm going to do the mouth. Now, when I do the mouth, I'm not just going to draw as a plain line. I have to bubble it out to make it a shape so that I can cut it out. So what I mean by that is I'm going to do my line down and up like a cat's mouth. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe you can see that a little bit better. Okay, and then I'm going to go back and trace around it to bubble it out so I can cut it. So I'm going to trace up with marker so you can see it a little bit better. So here's the nose. I went down and around, and then I went and bubbled it out so I can cut it. See how I did that? How it makes a shape now instead of just being a line. That's important. Now I can start cutting it out. Okay, so I'm going to cut the outside edge first. So when you're cutting, really take your time and try to stay on the lines. Do not make any extra cuts because if you do, it's not going to match when we're gluing it down. So you really need to take your time and don't make extra cuts. Try to stay on the line the best you possibly can. So really slow down for this. If you need to pause this video at any time, you can pause it and come back to the step that you need to work on. Okay, and I'm going to turn my paper as I go so I'm not hurting my wrist by twisting it around. Okay, so here's my half cat face. Keep this scrap. We're going to need it when we glue everything down, so don't throw anything away. Next, I'm going to cut out this nose and mouth. So I'm going to stay on this line. I'm going to go really slow, especially when I get to this area where it's a smaller shape. See, I'm turning my paper all the way around so I can easily stay on the line. I'm just really going slow and taking my time. Okay, keep this. You're going to need this piece. Don't lose it. Now, when you have a shape that's inside like this, we don't want to start with our scissors and make a line and cut up to it. Okay, we don't want that line. So here is a trick to get an inside shape. Here's what I do. I do a little pinch on the line. Okay, see how I've pinched it and it made a line right there? So I've pinched it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little cut on the line. So I just made a little cut right there. What that allows me to do is when I open it back up, I can put the bottom of my scissors right inside of that. See how I put my scissors right inside? Okay, now I can cut around it without having that line leading up to it, that cut line leading up to it. So this is going to be a little tricky, so really take your time. And that's why I wanted you to draw eyes really big, because if they were itty bitty, this would be so hard right now. Don't accidentally cut this off. So I'm going to turn my page. I'm going to stay on the line. I'm turning it. Try not to make any extra cuts. Okay, now here is my eye, okay? So you can see my half a cat face right here. Keep your pieces together. Now we need to arrange it so that it looks something like this, okay? So I like to lay out the biggest pieces first. So this is my biggest piece. And what I want to do is I want to match this big piece up with the outer corner, okay? It could be this way, or if you wanted to, you can flip it over and have it this way. Just match the corners with one of the edges. Okay. Then I'm going to do my next biggest piece, which is this cat face, half cat face right here. And I want to lay it so that the corners, these corners on the cat face are matching these corners. I'm not gluing it down yet. I want to arrange it so I know how I'm going to glue it. Now for this eye, see how it fits like a puzzle piece? I want to arrange it over here. And then finally for the mouth and nose, see how it fits like a puzzle piece? I just flip it over and match it up like that. And that's how I'm going to glue it down. Okay, so it's going to look something like that. So I'm going to glue it, starting with my big piece first. So I like to glue it where I outline with glue first so that the edges stay down. Oops. Try not to do too much glue. And then a little on the inside, so I just do some squiggly lines like this. Okay. Now, I'm going to lay it down. Oops, I'm dripping glue. And I'm going to match up those corners. Now I'm going to smooth it out. And that'll dry clear, so that's not really a big deal. If you get glue somewhere you shouldn't, it'll dry clear. Now, if you get on the table, make sure you clean it up. But if it's on your paper, no big deal. Okay. Now, here's my next biggest piece, and this is what I want to glue down second. So just like before, I like to outline. Outline the eye too. Then do some squiggles on the inside. Okay. Now I'm going to match this corner and this corner to these two corners and smooth it. Just gently pressing it down. I'm not going like this and hitting it real hard. I'm just gently pressing it and smoothing it. Okay, so you can see how that matches. The next biggest piece is the eye. So it's going to go right about there. So I'm going to put glue on it. Just stick it on. And then finally, I want to do the nose and the mouth. So if it matches like this, I'm going to have to put glue on the opposites, or I'm going to have to put glue on this side so I can flip it over like that. So I'm going to put glue on it. And if you accidentally put glue on the wrong side, let it dry. It dries clear. And then once it's dry, you can do it on the correct side. That happens to students sometimes in class. And it's really not that big of a deal. It's not like your project is ruined. And then there we go. You can see my cat face. So I wonder what kind of animal you made. Okay, so today we learned about space, how it's the area within and around an object and artwork. We talked about positive space, where that's the area inside of the main subject, and negative space, which is the area around the main subject in the background. And then we created an animal space, or an animal face, using positive and negative space. So I hope you have fun creating, and I hope you have a great day. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.